Indiana Fever again. What's up with your sinful truth? JTL, hoping a beautiful day. Me too. Hoping a nice, beautiful day. People in the chat is very, very quiet. So this is news that is coming out, man. Let me see if anybody else talking about this Dancers news here. And we got to go over to the free agents. Roberta said it's important to know contracts can only be signed starting Saturday, April the 11th. Therefore, commitments up until now are only verbal. So do that mean that we're going?
The Indiana Fever appear to be making another roster move, and this one comes straight from a credible source. WNBA reporter Roberta has indicated that Damiris Dantas is on her way back to Indiana, with the signing reportedly in verbal agreement stage ahead of the official contract window opening on Saturday, April 11th. That date matters because, per the same reporter, no deals can be formally executed until then, meaning everything confirmed up to this point exists as a commitment rather than a finalized contract. With that timeline in place, Saturday should bring a wave of formal announcements across the league, potentially including clarity on players like Sophie Cunningham and Natasha Howard, whose situations have remained unresolved since free agency opened.
Only verbal. So do that mean that we're going to get some updates on Sophie Cunningham, Natasha Howard by Saturday? Because if Dancers is about to re-sign, that means that we should be getting updates on Sophie and them too by Saturday. If this information is for real, based on what they said. Guys, drop down in the chat. Let me know how y'all feel about this, man. This is big time news. I can't even lie, man. Big.
If Dantas is indeed returning, it signals that the Fever front office has been quietly working through their roster decisions while the public-facing side of free agency has appeared slow. Dantas coming back reads as a move rooted in continuity and veteran stability. At this stage of her career, her value to the organization extends beyond raw production. She brings experience and locker room presence that has its own worth on a team still building toward a championship window. This would mark the third notable move for Indiana this offseason alongside Lexi Hall and Kelsey Mitchell.
About this, man. This is big time news. I can't even lie, man. Big time news. So it looked like Underdog is where she got this from. So Dancers dances to sign with the Indiana Fever. Oh, no. Underdog got it from Roberta. So Roberta is the one that just broke the story moments ago about Dancers re-signing. See, big time news, bro. Let's see here. Yes, we love you, Dantas. But we got to get that 3-shot cooking again. Who?
Elsewhere around the league, the Rika Jackson trade between the Chicago Sky and Los Angeles Sparks has generated significant discussion. The deal sends a legitimate two-way player to Chicago, and in context, it reframes some of the earlier criticism the Sky faced for trading Angel Reese without receiving a player in return. It now appears Chicago may have had this move in mind when they made that call. Whether Jackson's arrival is enough to push the Sky into playoff contention is a separate question. The roster still has ground to cover, but it is a meaningful addition.
Shot cooking again. Who? I don't know, man. I like Dantas. You know, she's a veteran player. I think the Fever just signing her out of respect at this point, which is a good move. To me, it is a good move. DD Stan, pronounced Don first part of Dan, LOL, and DD great. Right on, Truthful Sin. Okay, let's see here. Let's get back to the Rika Jackson news real quick. So, this is the news.
The organization also retained Ariel Atkins via the core designation, meaning she is in line for a contract that reflects her market value. On the topic of individual awards, current MVP odds for the 2026 WNBA season have Caitlin Clark listed at plus 250. That places her among the frontrunners, ahead of some notable names including A'ja Wilson. Given Clark's trajectory coming out of the international competition window and the level she has been performing at, those odds are not hard to justify.
So, this is the news that sent shockwaves throughout the W. That is the Chicago Sky and Los Angeles Sparks and this whole Rika Jackson trade. I don't know about this. You know, I think it's a good move for them. You know, I really do. But how much better will this make the Chicago Sky? You know what I'm saying? Like, They might win a couple more games, but like I still don't think that they're going to make the playoffs based off this.
A landslide victory is not guaranteed, but she is firmly in the conversation, and the numbers reflect that. As for Erica Wheeler, the expectation based on available reporting is that she is headed to Las Vegas rather than returning to Indiana. She developed a strong working chemistry with Clark during her time with the Fever, and her absence will be felt, but the Aces appear to be the more likely destination at this point. The roster picture for Indiana is starting to take shape.
Like, I still don't think that they're going to make the playoffs based off this. And I don't know. But let's read some of the comments. Somebody said, hey, look like the Sky are good. Whoa, that's crazy. What? How in the world does that make sense? Somebody said, tag her, stop grifting. Rika look gorgeous. Oh, my God. People be glazing the players, man. And remember, how there were a bunch of people saying that the Sky were crazy to give up Angel Reese for picks and no player. Maybe the Sky felt comfortable doing that because they had Rika.
Dantas returning adds a known quantity to a front court that still has open questions, and with contracts officially signable starting Saturday, the next few days should fill in a lot of the blanks that have been hanging over the league since free agency began. Kelsey Mitchell has shown up on the Indiana Fever's official roster page, marking a notable shift from just a day earlier when only 3 players were listed: Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and KK Robinson. A 4th name has now been added, and that name is Mitchell. This does not necessarily confirm a signed contract.
/ Ariel trade in the works. Now, they did core Ariel Atkins, which means that Ariel Atkins is possibly finna get some money, but I don't really know how that whole situation is going to work. Marshall said, I've always liked Dantas. I wish they could bring Erica Wheeler back. She plays well with Caitlin Clark, Lexi Hall, and give Kelsey Mitchell more time to rest. It looked like
what it most likely reflects is that Mitchell has been core tagged, a designation that makes her a restricted free agent while keeping her technically attached to the franchise. Not every player who has received a qualifying offer shows up on the roster page automatically, which makes Mitchell's appearance meaningful. She is no longer a free agent in the traditional sense. The Fever hold her rights, and she is currently considered a member of the roster.
And give Kelsey Mitchell more time to rest. It looked like Erica Wheeler is possibly finna sign with the Aces. Based on the information that has been coming out, look like she's going to Las Vegas. Somebody said Rika Jackson will give Sky more than Angel Reese ever did. 100. Oh my God. I got to read these comments. Somebody said they aren't the same type of players. LOL. Why do people make this dumb comparison? One gives defense and rebounds. The other gives shooting on all 3 levels and hint of playmaking.
The probability of Mitchell returning to Indiana is extremely high. The coaching staff wants continuity. Clark wants continuity. Boston wants continuity.
And by the way, this is one of those things where you might be saying, oh, but like if they're cored, they're on this. I'm not entirely sure if everyone that's been cored has been put on a team's roster. That being said, like, if you guys don't know, not everyone assigned a qualifying offer is there. The core tag is basically a reserve free agent. Not everyone who was a reserve free agent.
The only scenario where this falls apart is if Mitchell herself decides she wants out, and at the moment there is very little pointing in that direction. For any team to pull her away, the offer would need to be substantial, something along the lines of a player like Elena Delle Donne plus a top 4 pick coming back the other way. That kind of package seems unlikely to materialize given where the league's market currently sits. The more interesting question is whether Mitchell takes a 1-year deal or pushes for a multi-year commitment.
Automatically is on the team list right now. So, I just want to see, is Ariel Atkins there for the Sky? Atkins is there for the Sky. So, obviously, being cored, she's technically is a member of the roster. So people are like, oh, she's still a free agent. No, she is no longer a free agent. She is currently a member of the Indiana Fever's roster. And she is...
The financial math actually favors the shorter contract. A 1-year deal at a slightly higher rate keeps her in position to hit max eligibility next offseason when the salary ceiling rises. Over a 3-year span, that path could net her somewhere around $500,000 more than locking into a long-term arrangement now. It is a calculated risk, but one that also keeps her close to home, playing for a coach she trusts, alongside the most high-profile teammate in the sport.
She is someone that the Indiana Fever have full rights to. And I'm going to be honest here. There is like a 97% chance that Kelsey, maybe 80% chance Kelsey Mitchell's back. And to be honest, 80 might like 80 might be a bit low, because the odds of Kelsey Mitchell coming back is
Indiana, as an organization, has demonstrated consistently that short-term results drive every major decision. Trading away a first-round pick to avoid paying draft slot cap money, then using that flexibility to bring in veterans like DeWanna Bonner, Sidney Colson, and Brienne January, is exactly the kind of move that prioritizes winning now over building structural depth. The roster was trimmed down to the point where the 12th spot barely existed.
Coming back is or not coming back is very, very low. Because let's be real, the Indiana Fever want to run this back. Caitlin Clark wants to run it back. You've got Steph White wanting to run it back. You got Leah probably wanting to run it back. Unless Kelsey doesn't want to run it back. And if she doesn't want to run it back, then so be it. There's not much you can do if the key player in all this doesn't want to run it back. But at the same time, she's currently on the roster.
Every decision pointed toward maximizing the current window. That same short-term orientation makes Mitchell's return essentially a foregone conclusion from the franchise's perspective. She is the second-best player on a team built around a generational talent.
Currently on the roster, and look, I don't think the Indiana Fever are going to get anything less than Citron and pick 4 from Washington for Kelsey Mitchell. And look, there's a world where they can go for Citron. Heck, there's a world where they can make a trade, get some young assets, and bring in a Jackie Young in free agency or a Satu in free agency. Doesn't make the team as good this year. Jackie, probably. Satu, no. No, Kelsey Mitchell's way better than Satu.
Replacing her production through a trade or free agency at comparable cost is not realistic. The Fever are not a franchise that retools. They reload, and Mitchell is central to whatever they are trying to accomplish in the near term.
Kelsey Mitchell's way better than Satu. But maybe there's a way they can work it around. But, like, let's be real. She's on this roster, and she's on the roster page for a reason. She's coming back. She is absolutely coming back. I would say, again, there's a greater chance of the Aces blowing it all up, as in getting rid of Chelsea Gray and Jackie Young, and tanking for 2.
The broader principle at work here mirrors how players across professional sports tend to approach these decisions. When the choice is between a theoretical future gain and a concrete chance to compete for a title right now, players almost universally choose the immediate opportunity. Long-term asset management is a front office framework.
And Jackie Young, and tanking for 2 seasons, try to get Sarah Strong to combine with AJ Wilson, than there is for Kelsey Mitchell to walk for not anything less than a king's ransom. And I don't know if, with the way things are going right now, there's someone that's going to offer a king's ransom to offer Kelsey Mitchell a 3-year deal. Which is the only reason she would consider leaving. The only reason she considers leaving is if she wants a long-term deal. But it's like, does she want a long-term deal at $1.2 million a year?
Players operate on a different timeline, one where winning in the current season carries more weight than financial optimization projected 3 years out. Mitchell staying in Indiana on a short deal is consistent with both the financial logic and the competitive reality of her situation. Her appearance on the roster page is a formality reflecting the core tag.
Long-term deal. But it's like, does she want a long-term deal at $1.2 million a year? Or a 1-year deal at $1.4 million a year? And then she's hits free agency next year, becomes max eligible, and the max goes up to $1.4 million, and then she signs a 2-year, $1.4 million a year to end her career. She makes $600K extra, and that's just for taking the regular max. All she has, if she shows she's a max contract player, she can make probably $500K extra by saying 1 year at the Indiana Fever rather than taking a long-term deal.
The actual contract signing is expected to follow. At this point, the discussion around whether Mitchell returns is largely academic. The structure is already in place.